Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Jeremy Gaines, and I'm joined by Carlos Garcia. We're getting closer to draft night, which is on Wednesday, November 18th. In the meantime, we have our second NBA mock draft for you, and Carlos has the selections this week. So Carlos, you got your lottery picks here. Take me through these top 14 guys to go in the NBA draft. Tell me who you got.
Yeah, so obviously we have a star-studded draft this year. At number 1, I have Anthony Edwards, the guard out of Georgia. I think he fits perfectly with the Minnesota Timberwolves. You can have guys maybe like LaMelo or Wiseman at that number 1, but I think where Edwards is right now, I think he's a perfect fit to join alongside D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. At number 2, I have James Wiseman, the center. Golden State, they already got those 3 guards in Curry, Clay, and then Andrew Wiggins. I think they're lacking in that center position, so I think Wiseman would be an excellent fit for them. At number 3, arguably the best player in the draft, LaMelo Ball. He's got all these flashy passes. He's an excellent shooter. And at 6'7", he's a great length for an NBA point guard. But I think that he's the guy that Charlotte needs to flip that organization around. At number 4, I have Denny Avdija, the small forward from Israel. You know, the Bulls, they got those a lot of those overseas players like Lauri Markkanen, and they kind of lacking in that position or that big, that power forward, small forward area. So I think Avdija would be a great fit for them. At number 5, Obi Toppin, the power forward from Dayton. You know, he's kind of like, he's got that same body type as LeBron. He's that big power forward guy. So I think that's exactly what they need because they already got those 2 guards in Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, which they drafted in the last 2 years. So I think what they're really lacking is that another forward that they need. At number 6, going to Atlanta is Onyeka Okongwu, the center out of USC. Trae Young, John Collins, they got all those guys, but what they're really missing is that big man. You know, they got, what's his name, Clint Capella. They just traded for him last year, but I think he doesn't really fit well with them. I think what they need is this big, lanky center. At number 7, going to Detroit, is Tyrese Halliburton, point guard out of Iowa State. They already got the big man, and what they need is another guard who's going to facilitate the ball and make plays for this Detroit offense, which is something that they're really lacking in because they got the 2 guys down low in Blake Griffin. Well, they have Blake Griffin, so they need really that guy who's going to facilitate the ball. At number 8, I have going to New York Knicks, Isaac Okoro, small forward at Auburn. Listen, no matter who New York picks, they're probably going to mess it up. And that's just the reality of the situation. But I think in picking a small forward who's a 3-and-D guy, you know, he's got that great length. I think with pairing him alongside guys like R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, I think that's a great fit for the New York Knicks. At number 9, going to Washington, I have Patrick Williams. You know, we see the return of Bradley Beal and John Wall to the Wizards. So I think by giving another guy who's got great length and a scoring ability, I think that fits perfect alongside those 2 dynamic guards. Rounding out the top 10, we got Precious Achiuwa, the power forward from Memphis. You know, they already have guys like DeAndre Ayton, a big man, but I think giving you that other forward, that big guy, that's definitely going to help them down low get those rebounds because they got guys already like Devin Booker who can go out and score the ball. So going to San Antonio at number 11, I have Killian Hayes, the point guard out of France. Good overseas guy who's an excellent scorer. I think pairing him with DeMar DeRozan in the backcourt will be excellent for the San Antonio offense who missed the playoffs last year for the first time in 20 years. I think this young guy is going to be what's going to bring them back into the playoffs. At number 12, going to Sacramento, I have Devin Vassell. They already have a ton of big guys, you know, Harry Giles, Marvin Bagley. And I think by putting him alongside De'Aaron Fox, 2 dynamic, speedy guys, I think that's definitely going to pick up the pace for the Sacramento team and bring them to the offense that almost made the playoffs last year. At 13, going to New Orleans, I have Aleksej Pokusevski, a big man out of Serbia. You know, pairing him alongside Zion Williamson, that's going to be the best thing that's going to happen to New Orleans because Zion, he's that big guy who's going to be gritty and get those rebounds. But this guy's a 7-footer who can go out and shoot the ball very well, a very good 3-point shooter. So giving him, you know, the ball like Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball, all those guys are going to be dishing him the ball. I think this is an excellent acquisition for the New Orleans Pelicans. And then finally, rounding out the lottery, at number 14 to Boston, I have Sadiq Bey from Villanova. You know, this team has a ton of excellent guard play and forward play, but what they need is that one more big guy. We see that Robert Williams and Aaron Baines, they not really them true selves. They kind of digressed. So I think by giving a fresh new start in a power forward or small forward or power forward, it's an excellent offense that's going to be happening in Boston.
This is an excellent top 14, excellent lottery. My favorite player, Precious. I mean, what a name. You can't find a better name for a basketball player. But, you know, we just went through your top 14. I want to know what trades you're looking at. There's a lot of buzz that teams might move up or down in the draft order. Who do you see making a big blockbuster move?
Yeah, Jeremy, that's an excellent question because I have a lot of trades in the top 14, especially in the top 5. I'm looking at 3, Charlotte. I think they might either trade up or down because, they got a guy like LaMelo at 1 in their first overall selection, and that's a really good pick. But I think they might be trading with a team like New York, the Knicks. I think the Knicks at 8 right now, they're at a point in this team's franchise where they need to win right now. They need a guy who's going to come in there and turn around the franchise. And honestly, a guy like LaMelo Ball at 3 is excellent for the city of New York, not only for the team, but for revenue and attracting fans. So I think maybe by New York moving up to 3 and Charlotte moving down to 8, I think that's another trade we're seeing. And then obviously we have at the number 2 spot, Golden State Warriors, what they're going to do with the pick. They can either take a young guy like Wiseman, who's going to eat it up down low because everyone's going to be focusing their attention on Curry and Klay outside. But you can either draft Wiseman or trade that second overall pick to a team maybe like Indiana, who has a big guy like Miles Turner, a veteran force inside the paint, and who's going to be a veteran person in the locker room. So those are 2 of the trades that I'm looking at in the lottery.
To your points, I've actually, in fact, heard that the Knicks might trade back over the past month or 2, seen a lot of reporting that they don't like the value at number 8, so it's interesting that you say they might move up. And, of course, the Warriors, as you mentioned, they could get a really nice young player in James Wiseman that fits that positional lead, but maybe, as you said, they could get a veteran at that position and compete right now. We know they'll get Steph Curry back. We know they'll get Klay Thompson back. Draymond Green is still there, of course, and D'Angelo Russell, so they have the rest of that starting lineup, so maybe they can upgrade at center and get better right away and compete for championships once again. But as we move on here, I want to know who is being overlooked by some teams. Who's a player that scouts aren't really talking about, not that interested in, that you really like?
Yeah, so if we look at the mock draft right here, I'm looking at a guy at number 27 to New York, Trey Jones. This is a guy who, going into Duke, he's had a ton of big plays. He's that defensive anchor for that Duke team. But now coming into the league, a lot of mock drafts have him in the second round, maybe at that 35 range. But I see him going to New York at 27 just for his defensive ability. And he's a guy who's really going to make noise in the NBA. Even he might have a quiet night on offense, but he's going to be getting steals and that gritty defensive play. And then another guy we see at 24, Josh Green, the shooting guard out of Arizona. He fits very nicely with this Milwaukee team. This is a team that disappointed in the playoffs. They were a second-round exit to the Miami Heat in 5 games. And I think bringing the acquisition of Josh Green, a shooting guard who's a phenomenal shooter and who can really drive into the paint, I think pairing him alongside Chris Middleton and Giannis will be amazing for this team.
And one of the things that I always think about when you talk about NBA draft is what kind of players are going to come into the league right away and make their presence felt. You know that they're rookies, but they're going to play well right away. Who's that guy for you? Who's going to come in and automatically be a star?
Well, obviously, I'm looking at the top 3 guys, Anthony Edwards, Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball. Those are no-brainers. They're obviously there to change the face of the franchise and bring those teams back to the playoffs, maybe and compete for a title. But if we're looking in the second round here, I'm looking at a guy like Cassius Winston going to 28 to the Lakers. I think he's got that veteran presence in Rondo to help him out, but he's a guy who can make an immediate impact on this Lakers offense. He's a guy who can go out and score, and he's a very gritty defensive player like most of the other guards in this league. And then we have another guy in Nico Mannion, point guard out of Arizona, maybe going to the Thunder. He's also got a veteran presence in Chris Paul, which they might trade for him for Chris Paul to get something. So if that's the case, Nico Mannion's going to obviously step up and he's going to have to be inserted into a starting role. But if they keep Chris Paul, he's got an excellent mentor and a leadership position that he can look up to and help him develop in this league.
Yeah, these are all interesting guys that you have at the end of the first round, possibly could make an impact, come in, maybe surprise some people, take on a bigger role in their teams than people expect. So those are our selections for PSSN's second NBA mock draft. We have one more mock coming up next week before teams make their picks for real. So be sure to check out those predictions. For Carlos Garcia, I'm Jeremy Gaines. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.